Welcome to Here Comes the Boom, a Kentucky recruiting podcast from KSR and KSR Plus. We've got a fun show for you. Things have kind of slowed down on the recruiting trail, but with Jasper Johnson's decision coming up, we've got a lot of fun content. Be sure to follow us on KSR Plus. Subscribe to KSR Plus. Go to the KSR YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. We've got a special offer, $1 for 2 months. Use the code UK1 and you get KSR Plus. Got our message board and a bunch of premium content, so be sure to check that out. But let's get into the show. We got a new 2026. It's not an offer, but this is a guy, Alex Costanza, a 2026 small forward, top 10 in the country. He's a guy that Kentucky's been after since that June 15th period, but we're hearing more about him. I talked to his dad today, and he told me that Jason Hart is the main point of contact from Kentucky, but Mark Pope is also heavily involved. So you got two guys on this Kentucky staff that are in contact with Alex. They have not offered yet, but there's clear interest there, and he's a superb player, 6'8", 205 pounds, can play the 2, can play the 3, can play the 4, versatile player. There were talks about him going to IMG Academy, going to Montverde, going to some of these big prep schools, but he decided that he wants to stay at Westminster Academy and go for a state title. It's just his dad talked about how he's a loyal kid. We had that story over on KSR Plus, but he's a name that I want to keep on the radar with Kentucky. I know there's so much focus on the 2025 class, and we'll get into that. But Alex Costanza, someone to watch out for. I would expect Kentucky to receive a visit down the line. I know that he's planning a visit to St. John's and a few other schools. LSU, I believe, is another school involved. But Kentucky is on him. They're on his radar. And, we'll see what happens there. But let's talk about the 2025 class, because that's a little more top of mind. We've got a guy, Nico Bundalo. He just released his top, I believe, 7 schools, with Michigan State, North Carolina, Ohio State, Pittsburgh, Texas, UConn, Xavier. It is 8 schools. I didn't write Kentucky down. So he's got his top 8, and Kentucky is right in the mix. I talked to his AAU director, who said that Kentucky has really centered their pitch around play style. He's a 6'10" power forward, kind of perfect for Mark Pope's system. You hear that with a lot of any 6'10" power forward that can shoot the ball. It sounds like they're perfect for Mark Pope's system. But his AAU director talked about how they've been showing him film. They've been talking about how they're going to utilize him, and it all works out perfectly. He hasn't set a date for his Kentucky official visit, but that should come sometime in the fall. From there, he's expected to make a decision in the fall, so things are moving quickly. He's already taken a few official visits. I believe he has some other official visits set. I would anticipate he visits almost all of these 8 schools. So Kentucky, maybe a quiet contender with him. We didn't hear a lot about Nico because he was overseas this summer. He wasn't playing in the United States. Now that he's back, I think that you're going to start hearing a lot more. And he's a key target in this 2025 class. Speaking of key targets in this 2025 class, Jasper Johnson. We talked about him last week. We're talking about him all the time, and we're going to talk about him a lot more in this show. He's supposed to make his college decision August 21st or 22nd. He's got, I believe, a top 5, but it's really 3 schools that are standing out: Kentucky, Alabama, North Carolina. Those are the 3 schools that people are talking about the most and seem to be the real contenders. He was recently on Kentucky's campus, and that was kind of a quick little meeting between his dad and Mark Pope, I think, finalizing an NIL offer. And NIL is going to play a role, but also just Kentucky has been on this kid for a while. His dad obviously played football at Kentucky. There's a lot to like from Kentucky's side. And with a decision coming up August 21st or 22nd, it'll be interesting to see where he goes. Alabama, UNC, and Kentucky are really the 3 schools that people are talking about. So I decided to bring on 3 fans of each program to give their pitch to Jasper Johnson. We've got Cruz Oxenrider, the Alabama fan. We've got Riley Davis, the UNC fan. and we've got Connor Burns, the Kentucky fan. Let's just start off with Cruz, and each of you guys give your pitch to Jasper Johnson why he should choose your school.
Man, didn't expect to go first, but thanks for having me on. I guess the Final Four representative should get to go first, just saying. So, look, as I would say the non-blue blood here in this group right now, I feel like we are going to have to be the most creative with our pitch compared to a Kentucky or a UNC or a Kansas as well. Because let's be real, you guys are what we are in college football, in college basketball. Is what you guys are. However, though, there comes a time where there is a new changing of the guard, and let's be real, Alabama is not going anywhere anytime soon, especially with Nate Oates running the show. If I am a high school recruit, let's just say for the sake of it, now he's getting ready to make his announcement, and the next, I'd say, like 2 weeks is what the schedule one is for by the end of the month, right before the season starts for college football. I think you have 5 points that you just throw at him, and that you know that you can back it up as well. The first one going on is freedom in this offense. If you have seen guys like Mark Sears, Brandon Miller, Tyra Lewis, guys who have played in this system alongside with Nate Oates, they have freedom to score and to lead this team. Look at what Brandon Miller did. Brandon Miller came in as a freshman, and that team got handed to him as a 19-year-old. The guy now he's killing it in Charlotte. Honestly, my pick for Rookie of the Year, I think Wembanyama got a little bit of media hype, but let's be real. I think Brandon Miller was a fantastic fit in a bad organization. And then it's allowing him to maximize his efficiency of scores in this offense. Like you look at a guy like Mark Sears. Mark Sears is probably going to be in the short list of players of the year coming into this coming season. And what he did leading this team last year in the NCAA tournament, that Clemson game alone, he took over and he made it a show. This offense is built towards him. And I think that is something that he's going to get to play with and get to sit back and learn. He's not going to have to come in and immediately just take over the show. He's going to get to learn that process under Nate Oates. Second, he sometimes struggles when he doesn't have the ball. So getting in the Nate Oates system, not just offensively, will allow him to develop as a better player, all-around player. Look at a guy like Herb Jones. Herb Jones was just known as a 3 guy. And then Nate Oates got a hold of him, 3-and-D, arguably one of the most underrated players in the NBA. Same with Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller plays incredible defense. He's gotten a hold of guys like Grant Nelson, who now Grant Nelson developed later on in the year as well. Nate Oates, when he gets his hands on you, he's not just trying to make you the most efficient scorer possible, but he's trying to make you the best efficient player possible. And I think that's something that with this system he can definitely fit into. And then let's just look at the facts the last couple of years. Nate Oates has produced 4 lottery picks in 5 years at Alabama. Now, I know, you look back at like a Kentucky or a Kansas or a UNC and you guys pop out lottery picks like that. But you're talking about 4 lottery picks in basketball at Alabama. In NFLU. And that's not even including guys like J.D. Davison or Herb Jones as well. And if you want to include them in the circle as well. So if his goal is to get to the NBA, Alabama is currently one of the best in the country at doing that right now. Not back in the day, but right now. And then if you look at the development of that, we have 2 NBA assistants, both on focus on development. So if you want to be developed by NBA people to get to the NBA, you come to Alabama and you play under the system and our staff, which right now I think is arguably one of the best. We rebuilt last year. Everyone expected us to fall off massive last year, and we only got better. So that would be my pitch. And then the last one, the biggest one, look, you can go to a blue blood school like Kansas, UNC, and Kentucky and be a guy. Or you can come to Alabama and win a title and be the guy. And that's how they'll remember you.
Well, with Connor being the Kentucky guy, home court advantage, I'll let him go last. So let's give it to Riley. Riley, why do you think Jasper Johnson should choose North Carolina?
All right, so I'm famously not a math guy, but I'm going to start off with some numbers here. 16.4. That's the amount of field goal attempts R.J. Davis had per game last season. You know who's not going to be at UNC next year is RJ Davis. There's 16.4 shots at least in the backcourts that's going to be available. Jasper, I'm looking right at you, man. Come. You will have the most freedom that you could want on the court. Take any shots you want. Work through the mistakes. Hubert's gonna work with you to maximize your skill set as well. Second number, 1.25. That was the 1.25 million. The words allegedly we heard Jeremy Roach was offered by Baylor this offseason. Y'all tracking with me? That was the number that came out. I think that was the highest guard number that we heard. Are we in agreement here that RJ Davis is better than Jeremy Roach?
Yeah.
I'm getting some nods. Yeah. So I think, again, I have no official reporting, no investigative journalism here on how much money RJ Davis makes at UNC, but I'm guessing he's being compensated handsomely by Carolina to come back for a fifth year. I'll also make fun of my program because I'm going to make fun of y'all's as well. My UNC has missed out on a lot of centers this offseason. A lot of whiffs. Been pretty frustrating. Could it be that maybe UNC struggled a little bit financially because RJ Davis is cashing out? I don't know. For real, that just want to be clear. That's no intel. That is me just speculating. So no one gets upset about that. But that's just, I'm saying there should be money to spend, money to be dispersed to the Johnson family. Come to Chapel Hill, let it be your home. Take any shots you want. Be the lead guard in Hubert Davis's system. I got to take a couple shots at Alabama. That's where UNC and Kentucky fans, we can unite. So, my guy Cruz, you flaunted the Final Four representative. One. So many Final Fours Alabama has. 17, Kentucky, pretty solid. 21 Final Fours for UNC. Good little track record there to get you going there. I also got another couple numbers for you just to wind it down. 11. Cruz, you know what 11 is for?
I don't know.
Losing to an 11 seed UCLA in 2021. Then I got another number, 11. It's losing to 11 seed Notre Dame in 2022. Then I have a hyphenated number, 5-6. It's losing to 5-6 Darian Trammell in San Diego State in 2023. So just know there's again, you can make fun of my program. Alabama has gotten the better of UNC on and off the court recently. So I just had to throw my shots there. But Jasper, come on home to Chapel Hill. We got the history. We got the tradition. We got banners. It's going to be fun.
Well, we've got UNC and Alabama covered, but after all, this is a Kentucky podcast, so we got to throw it to Connor Burns. Connor, why should Jasper choose Kentucky?
One of my big arguments with Jasper Johnson is he's straight out of Lexington, Kentucky. We got a homegrown player. He's one of our own. And as we've seen with Reed Sheppard this last season, we treat one of our own they're one of our favorites from the beginning. And Jasper being from this state, fans are going to love him. They're going to support him from day one. And if he wants to come in and be a player from day one and be a fan favorite, this is the place to do that. And while Alabama fans and UNC fans they love their program respectively, when you have a homegrown kid come to Kentucky and play for the blue and white and Rupp Arena, it just means more to these fans. And if that's something he's really looking for, he can find that at Kentucky. And as a result of that, I feel like NIL opportunities can boom with Jasper Johnson at Kentucky. As we've seen with Reed Sheppard, he came in. We didn't really expect him to make a whole lot of NIL money. And as a fan favorite, people love you here. That's who they want to see. Whenever Reed Sheppard came out or hit a big three in Rupp Arena, he had the loudest cheers. And I think that could be very similar with Jasper Johnson. And another point that I wanted to make is we're losing a lot of our guards this year, similar to how, the Alabama and UNC fans have talked about playing time is going to be available. It's also going to be available at Kentucky. We're losing Jackson Robinson. We're going to lose Kirk Kriisa. We're going to lose Lamont Butler. He's going to be able to step in and take a huge role from day one and be the starting guard, get all the minutes. And he's going to be the highlight of the Pope offense. And while I am at a little bit of a disadvantage where we don't know Pope's offense, we've only seen it at BYU. We haven't really seen it at Kentucky yet. We can take some of the numbers that we've seen at BYU and translate it over into what we can probably see out of Mark Pope offense at Kentucky. We're going to get down the floor really fast. We're going to shoot a lot of threes. we're going to get open shots. And I think that's something that can fit directly into Jasper Johnson's game. And while that might be seen as a disadvantage comparison to Hubert Davis at North Carolina or with Alabama, where they have a consistent coaching staff, we've seen what they're going to do. We can translate what we see with Mark Pope at BYU and take it in Kentucky and know that Jasper's going to get his shots, he's going to get open looks, and he's going to get good looks, as we've seen with Al Jackson Robinson came into BYU as not really a big highlight of the offense, and he came out of that as the main guy, one of the big players in the transfer portal. And I think that's something that we can highlight Jasper Johnson in and make him the star player.
Well, we've heard all three pitches. Now I want to throw it back to you guys to give the chance to rebuttal some of what the other guys said. I know that some shots were thrown at your program, so I'll leave it to you guys. Who wants to go first? Defend your programs.
Yeah, I'll step in first. So if you guys like numbers, Riley, I have a number for you. 2. That was the number of double-digit leads UNC blew against Alabama in the Sweet 16. 2, the amount of times we've beaten UNC under new regime in the last 2 years. And then if you want to talk about this, you're not even the best elite basketball program in your own state anymore. NC State runs that now. I don't know if you've heard that they beat the ACC and they won and they made the Final Four. That's something that you guys can't say lately. And then Connor, for you as a Kentucky fan, you guys are the standard in the SEC for basketball. You guys are. However, though, we are the second winningest program in the SEC, and unfortunately, California got ran out of town by your own fan base. You guys are probably the delusional and aggressive fans in the SEC right now. Now, I will say this though, is that you guys have an incredibly high standards, the same how we are in football. It's and then you guys are kind of coming into it like DeBoer is for football right now. Like if DeBoer loses 3-4 games this year, which I don't think he will, but if he does, the pitchforks are coming out and the torches are getting lit. Like he will get run out of town. This guy has the opportunity this year to get run out of town in his first year because the SEC this year is loaded. Tennessee, Auburn, Alabama, Florida's going to be better. Now you're adding guys like Texas and Oklahoma into the mix. Like there is a real opportunity that he might get, on the hot seat year 1. And if he wants to come to this, like why would you want to come to a place where the coach is on the hot seat in year 1? Like Nate Oates is established in the SEC. He's not going anywhere. His contract's guaranteed. Where the NIL budget's been incredible. We probably did better than anyone else in the transfer portal this year. We retained a bunch of our key parts into this thing. We are not just a football school. We are now a everything school, especially in this. UNC, you might have the Jordan brand money in UNC, but guess what? Our Nike contract's up at the end of the year, and there's rumors of us becoming a Jordan brand school. So don't even throw that around. And then as far as Kansas goes and UNC goes, like, look, we will never hold the standard of the history you guys own. But let's be real. There's something appealing about a new kid on the block, and that's what we are right now.
Cruz, did UNC really blow 2 double-digit leads in that game?
They did.
Why'd you have to remind me of that?
I love numbers too.
Let's see. Should we gang up on Kentucky together now? Should we
Can I make a rebuttal to Cruz?
Yeah, go ahead, please. I love it.
You made a statement about, there's something special about being the new kid on the block, and Alabama has turned into like a very respectable basketball program. And I can turn that around and say, we maybe needed some new blood in the Kentucky program. We've got that Mark Pope. As we've seen with his introductory press conference, we filled the stadium up. I think it's going to revitalize the fan base. Fans are already revitalized. I'm bought back in. A lot of fans were kind of on edge with Calipari and staff. I mean, I can take some slack on my own program. We haven't had very much success, a lot less than you guys have. But I think Jasper can come in and be the guy with Mark Pope and help rebuild this program back into what we used to be, and just give us a juice, some jump start, get us back on the way to a national championship.
Yeah. I'll give you that. That's a good point. I will say I saw the press conference, but how much of that was fans actually excited because you guys went after Nate.
Yeah.
So you guys didn't exactly get your first or second pick. So is it more of just your fans being supportive of the school, or are they actually genuinely excited about the guy coming in? So because like, look, I'll be honest, I didn't really know much about Nate Oates. I just knew he came from Buffalo and he was successful there and he had a good tenure. Avery Johnson was a really good recruiter. He got those guys in that 2020 team that went to the Sweet 16, which, by the way, Riley, we lost to the team that made it to the not national championship, but the Final Four. And then San Diego State, Final Four, national championship game. So like, teams we lose to, it's like, we're losing to, really good teams in the tournament. But anyways, is it more of just, are you guys actually excited about the guy, or are you just happy and supporting your school?
I think at first, I definitely was on the Nate Oates train. I was definitely on the Dan Hurley train, and I was even on the Scott Drew train. Like, Mark Pope really wasn't on my radar, and at first it was like, I don't really know much about Mark Pope. I know he went to Kentucky. It's not really a glamorous hire. But as things started to progress, you start seeing Mark Pope make some statements. You see the introductory press conference, and you're like, dang, like, it really just means a little bit more. I think we haven't really experienced a coach to come out of our own program. I think Riley could probably attest a little bit to that with Hubert Davis. He just comes out there and you can really tell, like, Mark Pope loves Kentucky, like, just like the rest of us. And I think that means a lot to a lot of UK fans. And I think it could even help with recruitment of Jasper Johnson. Like, he's from Kentucky. His dad played at Kentucky. He's grew up around the Kentucky program. I think he's visited at least 6 or 7 or 8 times. Like, he's been around. He knows what it means to the people and the fans of Kentucky. And you see a coach that just lives, breathes, and dies by Kentucky. I think that's going to it'll play a huge role in his recruitment. And it's won me over. It's won a lot of my friends over.
All right, Jasper, if you're listening to this, earmuffs, Kentucky fans. Sold out press conferences are sick, but you know what's sicker is winning tournament games. My coach has won 7. If my math is correct, Alabama's has won 8. Big goose egg from Mark Pope. No tournament wins. Come make a Final Four. Come to Carolina. I'm like arguing on behalf of Alabama to make a point, but low key, like, honestly, just come be the next RJ Davis. Come be Hubert Davis's first lottery pick. The pitch is so easy. It's right there. Also, he's playing at OTE now. We got a guy in Ian Jackson who played at OTE, who also spurned Kentucky for UNC. Like, there's a little bit of a track record there. I hope that, and granted, I will admit, UNC lost a ton of recruits to Cal back in the day. Like PJ Washington, Jared Vanderbilt, that was one cycle. Kevin Knox, like, the list goes on and on of guys who I thought were coming to Carolina who went to Lexington. I will concede that. But the bad man is gone, at least to Fayetteville. The bad man is not there to haunt my team on the recruiting trail anymore for some of these same prospects. So that's my pitch to Jasper. Listen to your guy, Ian Jackson, who's probably also going to get a lot of shots this upcoming year, who also projects as a one and done. A lot of offense to go around in the backcourt.
See, you keep saying this thing about being the next John Wall or the next Ty Lawson or the next things. We don't need you to be the next anyone. We just need you to be Jasper. And that's what you can be at Alabama. We don't want you to be the next anybody. We want you to be you. And that's making your own history and your own legacy right there.
Counterpoint, Cruz. Jasper already said that Nate Oates compared him to Brandon Miller and said he wants him to be Brandon Miller.
Yeah,
that is saying could be the next Brandon Miller.
There's a difference between comparing styles of play and expecting to be like the next something. So it's like when people say like he's the next LeBron or the next Kobe or something like that, that's like living up to expectations of having to live up to that level. Nate's just saying they play similar. And then he's not asking, but he's asking him to be Jasper. And that's what the difference is coming into this is going to be, is that you guys are always going to compare him to greats, and you guys have those greats. You guys have the All-Americans and the NBA Hall of Famers and those guys. You can be the first. You can be the legacy here. Like, that is it. You can have your jersey hanging from the rafters when hopefully we get a new arena. I can't pitch for that, but we desperately need a new basketball arena. But that is something that we can hold, and your jersey can be next to the national championship banner you help us win in Tuscaloosa.
Well, I will say, Cruz, you're probably going to lose some points in the comment section here when you called Kentucky fans delusional. That's probably not going to go over too well.
SEC fans are delusional. I'm delusional as an Alabama football fan. Like, I expect us to win every game 90-0. Are we? No, but I still will carry that delusion with me. It's a respect thing. Trust me. Like, if I had a program that had that high of a standard, it's a compliment.
Well, I want to throw it back one more time. Final statements. This is your last chance. Jasper's committing in a couple of weeks, so let's start with Cruz once again. What's your final statement to Jasper Johnson?
Jasper Johnson, you have a chance to come to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and do something that has never been done before in the history of this program, and that is lead our team to a national championship. You can be the guy instead of a guy, and that's something that these other programs that are trying to pitch to you, they can't say. We can be the first ever team in the history of the University of Alabama to win a national championship in basketball, and you can be the reason why. That's all I got to say.
Riley, what's your final pitch?
Best jerseys in the country. Great college town. Best program in the country. A coach with aura, as the kids say. Lots of shots to go around. I feel like the NIL opportunities of just being named Jasper in general, but especially when you get that with like some Argyle and the commitment graphic, limitless. Just come be the lead guard here. Ball out. We'll get you to the league.
All right, and Connor, this is a Kentucky podcast. We got to close it out with Kentucky. What's your pitch, your final pitch?
Jasper, stay home in Kentucky, man. Come be the next Reed Shepherd. Come be the next hometown favorite. You know what this basketball means to Kentucky fans. You know what this program means to Kentucky fans. And you can come and be the next – you can usher in this next era of the Mark Pope, era of Kentucky basketball. You can be the next Kentucky guard to go to the NBA. We definitely have more of those than Alabama or North Carolina, as we can see in the Olympics. But just come be the next guy. Come win number 9. And come be the next guard of Kentucky basketball that makes a statement and wins a national championship.
Well, Cruz, Riley, Connor, thank you guys for coming on. Jasper, if you're seeing this, wherever he commits, we'll know why. It's because of one of these 3 guys. You can follow them on Twitter. We got their Twitter handles up there. And, thank you guys for coming on. We'll be right back. All right, the final thought. Today's show, it's about NIL. I don't think that fans realize how much NIL is factoring into a lot of these players' decisions. I know that we've heard a lot about Mark Pope and his NIL strategy. AJ Dybansa, the number 1 player in the country, just cut Kentucky from his list, and he was a guy that Kentucky was after. They offered him right when Mark Pope became the head coach. But he's going to probably be the highest paid incoming freshman in college basketball. He will be in this next season, maybe ever. His price tag is through the roof. We've heard a lot of different numbers. I'm not going to throw out exact numbers. That's all speculation, but it's high. And if you're going to recruit a guy like that, you're going to have to put so much of your NIL budget towards one player, and that's going to hurt the rest of your recruiting. So Kentucky's going with the strategy of we're not going to get AJ Dybansa, but maybe we can use that NIL money to get a couple different 5-stars, maybe get a 5-star and a 4-star. They're going for depth in this class, and that doesn't mean that they can't get a top 5, top 10 guy. Chris Sinak, a guy that they're in on. Kentucky's going after him. He's got top 5 upside in this class. They're not shying away from going after the 5-stars, but AJ Dybansa is a guy that they're no longer going after. Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to subscribe to the KSR YouTube channel, subscribe to KSR Plus, and we'll see you again soon.